Hello, I'm Bob Saint with the Grand County Wilderness Group. This is the first part of the Wilderness Regulation video series. This video will cover the regulations for all 4 of the wilderness areas in Grand County managed by the U.S. Forest Service Sulphur Ranger District. Part 2 will cover wilderness use permits for overnight and organized groups in the Indian Peaks Wilderness. As members of the Grand County Wilderness Group, in order to carry out our mission, which is to assist the U.S. Forest Service in the preservation, protection, improvement, and public understanding of the wilderness areas in Grand County, we are obligated to be familiar with the wilderness rules as we encounter people in and around the wilderness areas in our district. I encourage wilderness group members to review these videos before going out in the backcountry for cabin hosting and/or ambassador activities. Keep in mind that our role as volunteer stewards of the wilderness is to inform the public of the regulations and purpose of these regulations. Of course, we don't have the authority to issue citations, so we must use the authority of the resource as we communicate with the people we encounter. The Wilderness Act itself defines wilderness as an area where the earth and its community of life are untrammeled by man, which is protected and managed so as to preserve its natural conditions and has outstanding opportunities for solitude or a primitive and unconfined type of recreation. Also, we must remember that our own personal safety is essential. If we encounter resistance or are uncomfortable with the situation at all, back away and, if warranted, report the violation to the Forest Service office in Granby. Taking a photo of the vehicle license plate may be helpful. During this video, I will be referring to the wilderness regulations sheets that are posted at the wilderness boundaries and summarized on the kiosks at most of the wilderness trailheads. I will be using the Indian Peaks Wilderness Regulations and pointing out the differences of the other wilderness areas to our district. To reference these regulations, please click on the link in the website. Maximum group size. The maximum group size is 12 people or a combination of people and pack stock. Note that pets are not included in the maximum group size calculation. These are called heartbeat calculations. The number is the same for Byers Peak and Vasquez wilderness areas, but the maximum group size for the Never Summer Wilderness is 15. Pets. In the Indian Peaks Wilderness and areas surrounding Monarch Lake, pets must be on a handheld leash at all times for their protection as well as wildlife and other persons using the area. In the other wilderness areas and throughout the forest, the regulation states that pets must be under control at all times. Camping. Camping is prohibited within 100 feet of all lakes, streams, and trails. On the west side of the Indian Peaks Wilderness, camping is restricted to numbered designated sites at Caribou Lake and Crater Lake. On the east side of the Indian Peaks Wilderness, Diamond Lake and Jasper Lake have numbered designated sites, and camping is prohibited from May 1st through November 20th in the Four Lakes area, which is the Brainerd Lake area. Camping permits. A permit is required for anyone camping between June 1st and September 15th in the Indian Peaks Wilderness. We'll be talking about these permits in the second video. No camping permits are required in the other wilderness areas in our district at this time. Campfires. Campfires are prohibited within 100 feet of all lakes, streams, and trails. In addition, campfires are prohibited east of the Continental Divide in the Indian Peaks Wilderness. Campfires are prohibited in the following areas west of the Continental Divide: Crater Lake, Caribou Lake, Gourd Lake, Columbine Lake, and Cascade Creek above Cascade Falls, which includes Pawnee Lake. Of course, When there are county-wide or forest-wide restrictions because of wildfire danger, those restrictions apply in the wilderness too. Day and special use permits. A permit is required for all organized groups, i.e. scout troops, church groups, clubs, entering any of the wilderness areas any time of year. Organized group permits are limited to one day group and one overnight group per zone per day. In the Indian Peaks wilderness, this permit can be obtained using the same form as the camping permit. For the other wilderness areas, a permit must be obtained from the Forest Service Sulphur District Office in Granby. Notice that the Grand County Wilderness Group is exempt from this requirement because we already have a volunteer services agreement from the Forest Service. Also, commercial outfitters and guides should already have a permit in place. Motorized and mechanical equipment. Bicycles, motorized equipment, wagons, motor vehicles, hang gliders, drones, strollers, or other vehicles, except wheel devices that aid mobility impaired individuals, are prohibited in all wilderness areas. There have been questions regarding the increased use of drones. Drones cannot be operated, landed, or possessed in wilderness. Harassing of wildlife is prohibited under state law. Pack stock. Hobbled, tethered, or picketed pack stock are prohibited within 100 feet of all lakes, streams, and developed trails. Only certified weed-free oats, hay, or pelletized feed are allowed. In the wilderness, pack stock are prohibited in the Cascade Creek backcountry zone, above Cascade Falls on the west side, and in the Four Lakes backcountry zone in the Diamond Lake trailhead on the east side. Questions have been raised about the use of firearms in wilderness. The only regulation specific to use of weapons imposed by the Forest Service is that you cannot discharge a weapon within 150 yards of any structure, development, or occupied area, such as a campsite, within or into a cave, across a road or trail, or body of water, or in any manner that endangers a person. You also cannot use any tracer or incendiary ammunition. Forest Service regulations require that you also comply with all state regulations regarding the use of firearms while hunting. That's it as far as the wilderness rules is concerned. There will be more details, discussion of the issuing of camping and organized group permits in part 2 of this video series. Remember, we're volunteers, not enforcement officers. Our role as stewards of the wilderness is to inform the public on how we can preserve and protect the wilderness so that we can have and enjoy the untrammeled, primitive characteristics and opportunities for solitude now and for future generations.